Welcome to the Leadership and Learning Podcast with Dr. JBT, where we dive deep into the art of leadership for emerging and advancing leaders. Whether you're just starting out or looking to sharpen your skills, this podcast is your go-to resource. We'll explore real-world scenarios, actionable solutions, and expert advice with insights drawn from Dr. JBT's own experiences and interviews with seasoned leaders. If you're serious about growing as a leader, you've come to the right place. Welcome back to Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT. As leaders, we often think about growth in terms of outcomes, new roles, bigger responsibilities, measurable wins, but real leadership growth rarely feels like forward motion. More often, it feels like standing in an uncomfortable space between who you were and who you are becoming. And that space, this gap, is where most of the real work happens. It's where old instincts collide with new awareness. It's where habits that once served us begin to feel misaligned with our new realities. And it's where leadership stops being about competence and starts being about character. This past year forced me to spend more time in that gap than I expected. 2025 challenged me as a leader in ways I didn't anticipate. It was a season of personal loss, one that required a level of vulnerability with my team that was new for me. I found myself needing to lean on them in ways I hadn't before. Early in the year, someone wise shared something with me that stayed with me. She said her word for me was receive. At the time, I didn't fully understand what she meant. But as the year unfolded, I realized it meant I needed to let go of doing everything myself. I needed to lean into my team more fully. I needed to truly receive what they bring, their leadership, their strength, their care, because I was navigating a season where I couldn't operate the way I always had. And what I've come to understand is that this version of me, the leader I am today, is stronger than the leader I was last January because of that experience. As I step into a new year and reflect on the gap, here's what I know to be true. The space between who you were and who you are becoming is not evidence of failure. Even though it can feel like it, it is evidence of growth. Most leaders don't talk about the gap. We talk about success, resilience, lessons learned, but not the internal tension of becoming someone new while still carrying pieces of who we used to be. The gap shows up when you know better, but still act on instinct. When you value collaboration, but default to control under pressure. Or when your role has evolved faster than your internal wiring. The gap is that moment when you realize your leadership has outgrown some of your habits, but your habits haven't caught up yet. For me, the shift this year was around trust and empowerment. If you ask my team, they would tell you that I empower them, and they would be right. I do trust my team. I give them responsibility. I believe deeply in their competence. And I also like to understand the details. I like knowing the plan, the timing, how the pieces are coming together. What I realized this year, though, is that the next level of my leadership required a deeper kind of empowerment. It required me to be comfortable not knowing all the details, not being in the weeds, not needing visibility into every step of the process. And that was hard. That was really hard. What surprised me was what happened next. The work still moved forward. Decisions were made well. Outcomes were strong. Success happened, all without me being as close to the details as I had been in the past. That was the moment of clarity for me. It showed me that I can empower even more and that the team is more than ready. It also showed me that if I want to continue growing as a leader, I have to be willing to continue letting go of control, letting go of certainty, and trusting that I have built a strong, capable, and fully functioning team. This kind of realization can feel disorienting. For many leaders, it's easier to ignore it, to stay busy, to stay productive, and move on to the next goal. But ignoring the gap doesn't close it, just widens it. This year revealed several things about my leadership, things that were not always comfortable, but necessary. First, it revealed what no longer works. Every leader has tools that helped them succeed earlier in their career. But over time, some of those tools stop being assets and start becoming limitations. One moment in particular crystallized this for me. When we experience employee transitions, my instinct is to step in quickly and begin building the plan. I like to create clarity, establish direction, and make sure nothing is missed. That approach has served me well for a long time. But this year, in one of those moments, a leader on my team stepped in before I did. When I raised the need to start planning, he looked at me and said, "I already have a plan." And that stopped me. My initial reaction wasn't doubt in his ability, it was surprise. And in that moment, I realized something important. My instinct had been to assume the plan didn't exist because I hadn't created it. What I should have done, and what I have learned to do in that moment, was ask for his plan rather than assume it hadn't been done. I needed to challenge my assumptions. Growth requires release. Not everything that got us here can take us forward. Second, it revealed where growth is most uncomfortable. The areas where I felt most resistance were often the areas that required the most growth. Discomfort is rarely a sign that something is wrong. It's often a sign that something new is forming. I'm reminded of how many people, myself included, set a New Year's resolution to get healthier, right? How many of you are there with me? We join the gym with the best intentions. We imagine the results, but we rarely imagine the discomfort that comes with it. I joined a gym at the end of December, and last week I was walking around sore, limping a little, arms and legs feeling like noodles, everything hurt. And yet, I knew that was a good sign. That discomfort didn't mean I'd done something wrong. It meant muscles were being challenged. It meant growth was happening. It meant I was asking my body to do something it hadn't done before. Leadership works the same way. The discomfort I felt this year wasn't a signal to stop or pull back. It was a signal that I was stretching beyond familiar patterns, that I was developing new leadership muscles, that I was engaging work that required more from me than what had worked in the past. Leadership maturity is not built in moments of certainty. It's built when we choose to stay engaged in the discomfort long enough to learn from it. And third, it clarified who I am becoming as a leader. Growth is not just about correcting weaknesses. It is about refining identity. For me, this year clarified, I am a leader who is willing to lead significant change, even when the conditions are hard and the headwinds are strong. I work in an industry that is facing real disruption. The pressures are constant, the margin for error is small, and staying relevant requires us to do difficult, sometimes really uncomfortable work. That kind of change can't be incremental. It requires courage. It requires clarity and persistence. What I've learned is that leading change isn't just about strategy or vision. It's about people. And people naturally resist change, not because they don't care, but because change threatens what feels familiar, safe, and known. The leader I am becoming understands that resistance is not something to overcome or push through. It's something to listen to, acknowledge, and lead through with intention. That means being clear about why the change matters. It means holding steady when discomfort shows up. It means inspiring confidence, not by minimizing the challenge, but by naming it honestly. It also means modeling what it looks like to do hard things without losing sight of purpose. Becoming a better leader isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about aligning my behavior with the leader I know I am meant to be. One who can create momentum, sustain trust, and invite others to engage in the work of change, even when it would be easier to stand still. Many leaders avoid this kind of reflection because it forces us to confront identity, not just performance. It asks harder questions. Not, did I succeed, but did I lead well? Not, what did I achieve, but who did I become in the process? Without reflection, we repeat patterns we've already outgrown. We mistake momentum for progress, and we unintentionally carry old behaviors into new seasons that require something different. Reflection is not indulgent. It is strategic leadership work. As you close out this year, I want to offer a simple framework you can use on your own or with your team or with your leadership circle, okay? Ask yourself, who was I as a leader at the start of this year? What strengths did I rely on the most? What did this year expose? Where did pressure reveal gaps or growth edges? Who am I becoming? What behaviors, not intentions, need to shift? What must I let go of? Habits, mindsets, or roles that no longer fit the leader I'm becoming? And finally, what will I practice intentionally next year? One leadership behavior, one commitment, one way of showing up differently. The space between who you were and who you are becoming is not something to rush through. It's where your leadership is being shaped. The goal is not to eliminate the gap. The goal is to walk it with awareness, humility, and intention. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep growing. This is Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT signing off.